Good afternoon. Welcome to this Wednesday, March 8, 2023 regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees. This is the opening and open session to receive comments, if any, from attendees or people either in Zoom or in the live audience about our closed session items. Seeing no attendees and no members of the public in attendance at the meeting, we are going to adjourn and recess into closed session. All right, good evening. I'll call the meeting back to order. Welcome to this Wednesday, March 18th, 2022 regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees. We opened the meeting at 3 o'clock. We recessed to closed session. We're now reconvening to public session. Welcome and explanation to audience. There's an opportunity for audience members to comment about every item on the agenda. And at the first time that we have public comment, I'll explain the process, but just so you know, as participants, either online or in person, you can comment on any item on the agenda. For people who are here in person, there are comment cards at the table over there, and you put the agenda item number that you want to speak about and your name, and you provide the card to Laura Loese. And if you are on Zoom, you raise your Zoom hand at the time of that agenda item when I call for public comment. We have a few people here may not have been to meetings before. Does anyone have any questions about how to make a public comment? Okay. Roll call, please.
Student Trustee Rodriguez Velasquez and Student Trustee Swaminathan I believe, will be here late soon. Trustee Nori.
Here.
Trustee Koo.
Here.
Trustee Dubois.
Here.
Vice President Stevenson.
Here.
President Ginn.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. The next item is approval of the agenda. We have a request to switch items 13.3 and 13.2 just in order to take item 13.3 first. I've received no other requests for changes to the agenda. Does anybody else have any proposed changes to the agenda? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that revision?
I move to approve the changes that you recommended in the agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, agenda unanimously approved. The next item is report out on closed session. I have 3 items to report on out of closed session. Closed session item 2.1, temporary certificated non-reemployment resolution 1746. During the closed session held earlier tonight, the board adopted a resolution pursuant to Education Code Section 44954 and authorized the district superintendent or her designee to notify the temporary certificated teachers listed on the resolution of their non-reemployment for the 2023 to 2024 school year by the following vote. Ayes 5, noes 0, abstains 0. A list of the employees by their employee ID numbers is available in the back. Todd, you want to point to where the back is over on that table? The list of individual ID numbers will also be included in the minutes of tonight's board meeting. Closed session item 2.2, certificated non-reelection resolution 1747. During the closed session held earlier tonight, the board adopted a resolution pursuant to Education Code Section 44921.21 and authorized the district superintendent or her designee to notify the probationary certificated teachers listed on the resolution of their non-reelection for the 2023 to 2024 school year by the following vote. Ayes 5, noes 0, abstentions 0. Attachment A to the resolution of non-reemployment of probationary certificated employees includes the following EINs or employee identification numbers 11087 and 11514. On closed session item 2.3, Certificated Release and Reassignment Resolution 1748. During the closed session held earlier tonight, the board adopted a resolution pursuant to Education Code Section 44951 and authorized a district superintendent or her designee to notify a health and wellness coordinator of release and reassignment from his/her position by the following vote: ayes 5, noes 0, abstentions 0. That concludes the report out from the closed session. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. For those who have not been to a meeting before, the consent agenda is approved by roll call vote, and the board cannot discuss any of the items unless items are pulled. If any board member wishes to pull an item, then we deal with that item separately after approving all of the items that remain on the consent agenda. Do we have any comments about the consent agenda? Okay, does any board member have anything they want to pull from the consent agenda? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And second?
Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Trustee Nori,
Yes.
trustee Koo,
Yes.
trustee Dubois,
Yes.
vice president Stevenson,
Yes.
president again.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. So next we come to item 8, special recognitions, which I'll turn over to our Superintendent Leach.
Yes, good evening. So we have 2 recognitions tonight, but first we are going to start. Our MA principal, Mr. Luskut, is here, along with the leadership program and student leadership team. So Carl.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Leach and Board President Ginn and trustees and STTA for being here tonight. Thanks for having me. It's always a really fun time to come up and talk about the kids and the staff and our school. This morning, I actually had a group of students come up to me, and they had a bunch of coffee in their hand. They offered me a coffee. What coffee do you have? Well, they said, we understand you like coffee, black coffee, but coffee with light cream. Perfect. How'd you know that? I don't know, but they researched it and they brought me a little card that was really not touching, a really touching card, which I'm not going to read because it's more about me. But what I appreciated was that this was leadership. This was our leadership students doing just one of the nice things that they do around campus, right, for staff. And they were bringing a bunch of people in the front office coffee, and somehow they had researched what each person would prefer. So it was just a really nice thing. It's one of the small things that our leadership does for staff, for students, to celebrate them. And so that's why I'm here tonight. Is I'm proud to recognize and honor MA's leadership program this evening. Under the direction of Mike Amoroso, who's back here, the students in leadership last year responded to every request to create opportunities to build community amongst our students and host fun events that a variety of students can engage in. From grade level picnics, which we added on to his agenda last year, to staff versus student softball games, to capture the flag games, which we ran at lunch this year, ILS versus varsity basketball games, arm wrestling tournaments held throughout the campus, club rush days, fair days, and International Week, which we are currently celebrating now. Our students do a fantastic job finding ways to build community and celebrate our students. Additionally, starting last year, leadership organized school dances that attracted some of the largest crowds we've ever had. So last year we held homecoming in our new gym where over 1,000 students attended. It was one of the largest dances we've ever held. And this year, so we had to move it off campus because it was so large. This year we went to the Fox Theater and we had over 1,200 students attend. That's over half our school. We're now struggling. We don't know where to hold these dances anymore, quite frankly. And it is in part because our students have created, the students run them. The students find the venues, the students identify what to do at the dance, the activities to have at the dance, the music. They run them. And they've created events that are safe, fun, and inclusive. Kids love being there. Kids clamor to get to our dances. And finally, each year our leadership program organizes the largest canned food drive in public schools in the US. I think that's correct, Mr. Amoroso. Largest canned food drive for a public school in the United States. This year, the program organized roughly or collected roughly 340,000 pounds of food. That food was distributed to over 600 families in our community. It's mind-blowing. Actually, overall, I find the best part to be Saturday morning, which we call distribution day at MA. It's god awful. You have to wake up early in the morning to get there at 7 o'clock. And this year it was pouring rain. And yet you are surprised at how many people show up. It's not just leadership students, it's students from all over the community. It's staff, right? Our campus aides there. We have former employees that come, former employees that bring their children come. And students and some parents who all show up to break down boxes, bag up food, put food in boxes, put food in carts, organize distribution of it, deliver food to cars, and all morning. It's an immensely amazing event. And just the collection that the event that brings our community together, not to mention that the food that it's delivering, but the idea that it brings people together to come on this Saturday morning is incredible. Again, I want to say it's in the pouring rain. Ultimately, so I'd also, so again, I'd like to honor Mike Amoroso, who's here, and I don't know if we'd like to, can we have them come up? Is that right? Mike Amoroso, come on up, give him a hand, Brown. And we have a few of our students here tonight. Sophie Robbins, would you come on up? Sophie, along with Paulina Cisneros, helped organize, for example, our Tremendous Fair Day, which was, I think, a new event this year, right? Josiah Johnson, who's not here, along with Josie Lunt, runs our lunchtime event committee. Tua Basta and Addie McCombs, please come on up. Who are two of the people in charge of some of those great homecoming and winter formal events. And we have Celine Chen, who's back here, who was described to me indispensable for her work organizing the canned food drive. There are other students I have relied on to help with student panels, help lead parents on tours, direct parents during an evening event. I know that each of these students serves on different committees, but no matter the committee or the activity, I am always impressed by the positive energy, their desire to create something all students can feel proud of, and their overall desire to help. The students see me walk into the leadership room, I don't know, at least weekly, and ask for something. And it's always, how can we help? And I appreciate it. They're always super positive. They do a great job the students do a great job of celebrating our campus. I'd also like to take a moment and recognize Mr. Amoroso, who supports our leadership students. He is always willing to support the administration's ask for additional events, for help planning an event, for help supporting an event. He facilitates a program that empowers students to come up with their own ideas for celebrating staff, engaging in service, and engaging students on campus. And it's the students then who have to execute the plan. What I'm trying to say is that you empower students, and thank you. Ultimately, we are so happy with our leadership program that next year we are looking to expand the program to add a third class with the goal of offering courses that focus on community service, community building through school events, and a third class which would focus on celebrating the different cultures of our MA community. We are excited to both expand opportunities for students and expand resources for the school as we look for ways to celebrate. All right, thank you guys very much.
Okay, we do have another recognition. This one's a little different. Has anyone ever seen that show, Undercover Boss? So this is more like an undercover customer. I had the privilege, or maybe it was definitely a privilege, to be a patient of Veronica Torres, one of our newest health aides here. And I am not the best patient. She is a health aide, a floater aide. She recently came to us from Stanford and has transitioned into her position flawlessly. So as I was visiting a site with Bonnie and team, had a little bit of an episode and required some assistance. Just leave it at that. She had no idea who I was. She had no idea who Bonnie was. Again, neither Bonnie or I are very easy people, let alone me in this frantic disarray of health need. And her attention to me, her carefulness, I was scared, I was embarrassed, all kinds of feelings. And she just walked me, encouraged me, said, you're gonna go to the emergency room. But you know, and just that act, it wasn't until later on that she found out who I was, who Bonnie was, and she really rolled out the red carpet. The next day when she had to call and check up on me, you know, it was a very fun conversation, because everything up until then, as far as the incident report, was kind of written in code. So she had to redo that. But Veronica, I am so thankful for you. I am so thankful for that opportunity to meet you, the opportunity to have that conversation with you the next day where we just got to kind of gab a little bit. And I am so honored that you're here, that you're at Tide, that you're floating through our district and you're helping students of need, because I know as crazy and uncertain as I was in that time, I can only imagine how other staff and students feel when they would require your support. So thank you. Thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for taking care of Bonnie, who was taking care of me. And I just wanted to recognize you tonight. So can you come up? Okay.
Okay, the next item is Board of Trustees, Superintendent comments, and community reports. And I'll start at the end. Sophic, if you have anything you'd like to report, we'll move down.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things. One, I'd like to acknowledge, I think the whole board received an email, but the National History Day county competition happened, and I was so grateful to see that there were so many Sequoia students across our high schools who were able to participate. So when I was actually at MA my sophomore year, I did National History Day, and it was really fun experience, you know, going to states and meeting other people and learning really in depth about a topic. And it was so great to see how much it's expanded at MA, and I'd especially like to thank Miss Olson, who was, I think she's the county-wide coordinator for NHD, and you know, it's an unpaid position. She dedicates so much time to share her love of history, and I think that's really great to, you know, share it with our students.
Yeah, I just want to start by saying thank you, Interim Superintendent Leach, for being back to good health, because we wouldn't want another interim superintendent. That is not a good joke. I did want to mention that today is International Women's Day. Woohoo! And we are meeting at a board meeting. There's actually more women up here than men. No, just kidding. But the theme Yeah, the theme this year is embracing equity. So I thought that was a very apropos theme. And it's not just about gender equity, but equity for everyone. And if you haven't done a selfie yet, I guess this is the symbol. You hug yourself. And that's the embracing equity. And you could take a picture and post it and pound embracing equity if you want to. And then I did want to mention that Trustee Dubois and I had a chance to visit KIPP Esperanza, which is one of the charter schools in East Palo Alto. And it was very interesting. I mean, the thing I took away, and Trustee Dubois can add her takeaways, was KIPP Forward. And so it's that concept that they're supporting the students, not just during their junior and senior year when they're applying to college, but they'll have someone from their regional office continue to support that student while they're in college. Because if you're the first person in your family to go to college, there's a lot of questions and supports that are needed that are different than other students, right? And having someone to go to during that period of time is really helpful to make sure that they stay in college and graduate. So I thought that was my big takeaway, that, you know, it doesn't just finish with high school, but that support needs to continue. And then I also wanted to mention that they are interested in being more collaborative with us, and sharing best practices, and then joining efforts on different advocacy where there's something in common, like school funding or teacher shortage, you know, like what can we do to advocate together, even though they're charter and, you know, we're public education system. And then I had a chance to visit the Dominique Hoskins Black History Month pop-up museum on my own, because I didn't make it to the Friday. I don't know if anyone made it to the Friday reception. I'd love to hear about that. But I took away a lot of learnings. I especially liked the exhibit where it talked about Black inventors, and it'll forever change my mindset when I eat chips. Because the person who invented chips was Black. So, and then finally, I wanted to congratulate the Sequoia team on the Stanford collaboration with Redwood City, as well as Stanford, on mental health. And I had a chance to go to the celebration luncheon. And in addition to learning about the mental health collaborative, I was also very intrigued by the individual professor that won the Roland Award. So Professor Manu Prakash, he does this frugal science course and created this foldable microscope that is revolutionizing how science is taught and just making it accessible to everyday people. I think he would be a great person to invite as a guest speaker for something to just inspire students about STEM. And he's right next door in Stanford. He was a great speaker, made us all laugh too. So that's always fun. And that's it.
Okay. You also attended, Amy, the Belmont River Shores 2+2 meeting with me. So it was an introductory meeting because we have some new people. I thought it was a good meeting. They are mostly interested in articulation, and they're also interested in the lottery positions that become available at DTAC. We want to make sure that Sequoia students are getting the fair number of spots. So that was a good meeting. And then with Trustee Stevenson and Superintendent Leach, we attended the Ravenswood 2+2 meeting. I thought it was a really good meeting. I'm so excited to be back on that. I was on that 2+2 for many, many years, and we never met. It was always canceled. And then I got sort of, I think, kicked off the committee because Chris Thompson took my place, but you still never met. And now I'm on again. I'm very... So I'm back on, and I think this time we're really going to meet, and we're going to meet consistently. And we had a great conversation. I also met with 2 Ravenswood board members for coffee in Palo Alto. So I'm excited to have stronger relationships with them. I also visited our newcomer center here at the district office. It was incredible. When I walked away, I said, this is just a story of inspiration. I was so inspired to hear about our newcomer families, our newcomer kids that come here alone, how much support they get as soon as they walk in the door. It's amazing. I would love a presentation. I think the rest of the board would want to know more about how we solved the vaccine obstacles that some of our kids were having and many other things. So definitely huge inspiration for me. It's so glad to be back and to be visiting programs again and visiting schools. I also visited the Black History pop-up with Trustee Stevenson. If you go last, everything's going to be taken. You're not going to be able to see much. And Trustee Nori was there. Again, very inspiring. I cannot believe that this woman stores all of the items, puts them all up, takes them down. She needs a space. And I'm wondering if we can in some way help using our connections, using all the people in our community. She really, really needs a space. Superintendent from Ravenswood was there. Her words made me want to cry. She didn't know it was there. She would love to take all of her kids to see the museum. So that was good. I also wanted to mention again, the OIA conference. So I was supposed to send an email to you guys. It is coming up. It's March 25th, and I'd love to have us do that as a governance team to volunteer to be with our kids. You have it on your calendar. So I need to send you the link to register as a volunteer, and I will do that. That's it for me.
I think my name was on everybody's list, but anyhow, I'm not trying to be everywhere. Where is Shanice? But anyhow, I've been at a lot of places. And I think for me, I needed a rejuvenation of who Sequoia is. And so going to things that I'm not invited to was like the highlight of my day, like calling Gay, who's the principal of Carmon, and showing up at Heritage Day and just seeing all the beauty that's there, and talk about leadership. Their leadership put it on, their student leaders. And I was like, this is anything better than I seen an adult do. So I'm just like really excited. Or even going to the PD Day at Woodside on compliance. What a sexy topic. I was so energized to be there. So like those things matter to me because it's not the big, pretty, give me a picture kinds of events, but it's also the quiet events that people are going to. It helps me to see the school in its beauty, as well as its challenges, right? So I'm going to end on one thing so that I can end with a quote, but we did the 2x2 with Ravenswood. It was really good. I think I want to thank Crystal for reaching out to them, just to be really transparent. My community is hurting. And sometimes we lay dormant and sometimes we don't. And so you've gotten the don't and sometimes we do. And really focusing on the relationship with them is really important. So thank you. It shined through there. And then Sathik and I had a 2x2 with Menlo Park School District in the coffee house, just hanging out with no superintendents. And so next time with the superintendents, you were wanted, but not invited. I'm just joking, but it was a really good conversation. And what it boiled down to, Sathik, you tell me if I'm wrong, is that one of the things we talked a lot about, there was a lot of like topics, but it was really an introduction meeting because they had not had this kind of meeting before. And so, but we boiled down to things of belonging. How can we help kids transition and belong? Right. And I shared with them one of the reasons why I'm on the Ravenswood and Menlo Park. I don't know if Carl is here. They all go to MA. And so the beauty of diversity, but there's also tension and static with diversity as well. And so I was like, it would be neat to be on two different 2x2s to kind of see how we can bridge that and support that, not only amongst the students who are very important, but I also think amongst the parents. And really looking at it from a strength-based perspective. And so that's what they wanted to work on with the superintendents at the table next time. So you should be getting a call, or was I don't know if I was supposed to follow up an email. So I think were you gonna follow? We'll both follow up an email and say we need another meeting. And then I went to the middle college orientation. Very interesting. I don't know if Stephen is here, but it was a really good orientation. There were lots. Is he here? Hey, Stephen. But it was a really good orientations, the kinds of questions people have. I think what I walked away with, one of the questions, and I'm looking at Bonnie for her department, the questions that came about was, what's the difference between IB, AP, and dual and credit enrollment? Don't answer that now. But that would be a nice info sheet because I think we have some of that throughout our whole district, where people can take dual credits and then the middle college. And, you know, I think that helps people out. So that was a big question that came out of that. And Stephen just did a really good job, him and his team, and students were there and they had other students come out and speak. And I believe he's going in and out of some of the communities that don't necessarily apply. But it was great. And then I don't know if this was last time, so hopefully I didn't repeat it. We went, the SB San Mateo School Board Association focused on equity. And I wanted to thank my board. Did I say thank y'all last time for coming out? Did I see an email? I don't know, y'all. It's been a tough couple of weeks. My child's been hospitalized. I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago or this week, but I want to thank you all for coming out. It was actually quite stimulating. Doesn't mean we're going to adopt everything that was discussed, but Campbell County came out and presented. And there were some things that not the recommendations at the end, but how they went about talking about equity and race in a way that's digestible for all communities was actually very attractive to me. So hopefully we can have a discussion about that in the retreat. And then I went to Tide WASC. That was an event. It was interesting. I just want to say, like, when I read the report, and there was one part in the report that's probably about this big that talked about the transition that was there. And then something else happened. Then we had another leadership, and then the leadership changed here, and then the leadership changed there. And it wasn't just at the site, but also at the administrative level. One of the members rolled their seat back and said, now that all the parents are gone, does the school really, with all the transition that happened, do we really support it? And we said, you know, very strongly, yes. And so I felt proud about that, because I know I was like, I don't know what's going on that site, but I got a whole lot of gossip from the community, right? And that gossip is changing. And so I want to say leadership matters. And I think it's really important to have people who believe in the students. And I also heard someone say that the principal and the vice principal is just determined. They don't say no to what the possibilities are. Even going over to see their wellness center, that's more like, in my terms of social work, we call it a transdisciplinary team, where it's not about your role siloed, but more so about your role transition. And then when it's out of your scope of work, you pass on, right? And so the student doesn't feel any difference. And so being at that meeting and watching them saying that was intentional planning, and just wanted to just say how proud I am for that site. And then I wanted to come back about the USC training that we've gotten a couple of emails from parents, not parents, but staff in the USC training. They had some comments open, and people were saying some hurtful things about different groups of people, which I don't support. But I was reading something as I came out here, because I've been kind of emotional about it, not because it was done, not because the Padlet was open, not because of those things, but that some comments didn't think about the impact of who was saying it and who was receiving it. So it's both. So there's a quote here. It says, forgiveness doesn't require that people who did the hurting apologize or acknowledge what they've done. It's not about making the score even. It doesn't even require forgetting about the incident, but it is about admitting that the one who hurt us is human, just like we are. And so when I think about that, we got a lot of healing to do in our community, not because of what someone did to someone else, but what's going on with them as well. And ultimately, if we do that to our colleagues, we got to think about our students and the impact, even when they're not in the room. And so I know you sent your email to staff, and I appreciate the quick response. But as we move forward with our organization, I hope we can have some really honest conversations about hurting others, but also how we can take leadership as board members. Even though I wanted to slip in the back of the compliance workshop at Woodside, it was nice to be in the room with people because people did come up to me and say, hello. I talked to the people that were around me. And I just think our presence are important. I think that's leadership. And so I just wanted to put that out, and thank you for your response. And don't call me during this time. We're having a powwow about how we're going to respond. And I think we can't be afraid of race. I think we can't be afraid of inclusion. And sometimes it's painful, and it's an opportunity to grow. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Everything I was going to comment on has already been mentioned. So next up is the student trustee comments.
Hello, hello, hello. It is so lovely to be back in person. I just want to start by saying, of course, happy Women's History Month and happy Women's Day. And I hope that Samantha and I can spearhead some sort of project to appreciate the great women within our district, but also the historical leaders that we've had in these movements. I also want to highlight that we have a couple more months until the end of the year, and seniors are really starting to get into the end of year festivities. So at Carlmont, we're doing a game of Senior Assassin, which is not played on campus, of course, and it is a game, and it's not affiliated with the ASB. Everything that I need to say, let me say it, but it is. It's a good way to build camaraderie, and I have my floaty for protection right here, so I'm equipped. But it's really great to be a part of a district and community that allows us to do fun things and really play, so I appreciate that. And yeah, we recently had Heritage Fair, which was, again, such a lovely thing to see how student leadership combined with the effort of the clubs to really create such a great event that is always a highlight of my year each year. And it's just great to see how that's grown and is continuing, So a few students have shown concern recently about food waste on campuses. A student suggested that instead of in the school lunches, they have broccoli and carrots and things like that, but students don't often eat that. So maybe instead of providing that, it could be an optional sort of addition so that food isn't wasted or thrown around. The World Wildlife Fund estimates that food waste alone in US schools is to reach 530,000 tons annually. So it is something to consider. Also, a student at Tide Academy is organizing an open mic night for trans awareness. And they mentioned that, seeing representation and being accepted is a great resource for mental health and making sure that people can find space for themselves, especially since a lot of the suicide rate for trans youth is a lot higher than for cisgender peers. And yeah, the open mic night will be hosted at EPA Center this coming Friday from 6:30 to 8. So if anyone wants to come, I'm sure that would be appreciated. And I might be there. Yeah, and seniors are also feeling the pressure of college applications coming out right now and figuring out their futures. So I want to make sure that there are adequate mental health resources, both individual and group resources, so that people can deal with these decisions before they're coming out, during, and after, and how that will affect them. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you, everyone.
Can you say what that event is again?
Yes, it is an open mic night for trans awareness. It's going to be held at EPA Center this Friday, March 10th, from 6:30 to 8. And also, I just remembered something else. Trustee Stevenson, I really appreciated what you were talking about just now. And I think that awareness for both staff and students and just everyone is very important. And recently a teacher used a word that they didn't know was a little bit harmful. And I mentioned that, but their response was kind of what was a little disappointing, because they were like, oh, I don't think that's such a big deal. And I meant it in this context. And I think that everyone could really acknowledge moments for growth a little bit better. And it's easy to be like, oh, you're attacking me and my character, but that's never what it should be. And I hope that that sort of learning really continues and is emphasized. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have comments from the Sequoia District Teachers Association.
Hello. So March has already gotten its start as a busy month for us. We met on March 1st as a bargaining team to review input that we've gotten from our members about what their biggest challenges are and what contractual improvements could be made that would help them better serve students. And you will hear more about that later in the agenda. CTA, this is a month of conferences. This weekend is the New Educators Weekend. We've got some newer educators who'll be attending that. Next weekend is the Retired Educators Conference, which I'm looking forward to attending, not so distant future. And then that same weekend is the Equity and Human Rights Conference that we've got a few folks attending. So we are looking forward to all of that. I think some of the trustees have already spoken to some of the issues I wanted to raise. First and foremost being Happy International Women's Day, and a reminder that the idea for International Women's Day was started by a group of women protesters in New York in 1908 who were protesting for better working conditions and voting rights for women, and that the suffrage and equality and labor movements have been intertwined going back more than a century and continue to be intertwined. That's why it was disappointing to see that there were members of our groups who did not take our most recent training as seriously as it needs to be taken. We saw the board do anti-bias training. We clearly need our own bias training. We appreciate that the district is not letting that affect their commitment to the topic and the process moving forward. And very much SDTA wants to stand with the district, but more than that with our members, and most importantly, our BIPOC members, to tell them that we understand why it's important. We agree that it's important, and we're not going to stop working on this until the Sequoia Union High School District is an inviting, supportive, comfortable place for everyone to work and for every child to learn. Thank you.
Next would be comments from the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, known as AFSCME, if there's any member from AFSCME here or on Zoom. Okay, the next item is public comment, and we have a number of attendees who may not be familiar with school board meetings, but this item is for people who want to make a comment to the board about an item that is not on the agenda. Anybody wishes to make such a comment from Zoom, you will raise your Zoom hand, and if you are here in person, there are comment cards at the table, and you can put your name on the comment card. And similarly, for those who weren't here when I announced earlier, if you want to make a comment about any of the coming agenda items, you would similarly fill out a comment card, or when the time comes, raise your Zoom hand. So at this time, I'll ask a public comment for any items not on the agenda.
I don't have cards for items not on the agenda.
Okay, and we have one hand raised.
Okay, so we'll take the comment on Zoom. Tony Crapel.
Hello, good evening. My name is Tony Crapo. I'm the Director of Purchasing and Support Services. And I was just overheard in the meeting that the student trustee had talked about food waste. That was one of the students' concerns. And I just wanted to share that serving vegetables in the school lunch is one of the mandated things that we're required to do in order to get fully reimbursed for those meals. So if we didn't serve them, that money would all come out of the general fund to pay for the meal. So just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
We have one more hand. Okay. Next speaker is Larry Moody.
Okay, good evening, trustees. My name is Larry Moody. I'm a resident here in East Palo Alto, former elected official, and an alumni parent of the Sequoia School District. 3 of my sons have graduated through Sequoia. One of the things, I had an opportunity to have a conversation with our representative, Shani Stevenson, on a lot of different topics. And I personally want to celebrate her for keeping the community informed on the going on and the things that are happening within the Sequoia district. One of the things the point I raised with her is that I know that you're in the midst of a search for a new superintendent. And I know how challenging that can be sometimes and how time consuming. But I think there's an opportunity right now with your interim superintendent to set up a time for a town hall meeting, or maybe even a series of meet and greets with local residents, to begin having a conversation about education in the Sequoia School District as it relates to Ravenswood students who are transitioning into the schools. I don't think it will be it's a big endeavor to ask the interim to come down and to kind of meet groups of East Palo Alto, Belhaven residents over the next month and a half or so we can have a better sense of the going-ons. And also, I think it would be a great sounding board for the interim superintendent to hear from some local residents who oftentimes are not able to engage in the agenda conversations that you host as trustees. Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service and all that you do.
Okay. That
Okay,
ends
that-
public comment.
That concludes public comment. The next item is information item number 13.1. Report on the superintendent search input sessions and survey presented by Eric Andrew from Leadership Associates.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, as well as community. I'm here to give an update as to the community input sessions and the online survey results that we conducted in the past few weeks.
First of all, I want to applaud the board for taking on this project because you didn't have to do it. And you decided to go out and reach out to your community again to get a sense of what they wanted to see in their next superintendent and the qualities that they believe are important for the community in the Sequoia district. So what we did have two forms of input from the community. First being he had focus groups that we conducted. And we conducted the focus groups on February 13th and 14th. And this gave us an opportunity to find out from identified groups as to what they want to see in the next superintendent. We followed that up with an online survey. And that online survey also produced about 700 and over 700 responses to 3 prompts. The first prompt was, what are the characteristics you want to see in your next superintendent? The second one is, what are the strengths of the district? And the third one being, what are the areas of growth or challenges that the district is facing? We think that's important not only for your next superintendent, but also for the board to know, here's what the community is thinking. We will say that the responses weren't as robust as they were when we did it 2 years ago, but there are a lot of factors for that. In some cases, there were community members who felt we just did this, and so I don't need to engage. In other cases, we had the winter break that came in between, and so we were trying to get this done for this particular meeting. And then the last aspect of it, we find that sometimes people had problems finding the information and so on. But we feel like we have a very good response overall, and that it does reflect what the community is thinking. With that being said, we conducted over 25 sessions. There were 83 people who participated on the surveys or the input sessions, and we were very pleased with the outcome overall. And so I'd like to go through what the results were of the survey itself. As I mentioned, there were 702 participants who engaged in the online survey. And with that being said, we had 426 parents, 164 teachers, 72 classified employees, 47 administrators, and 68 other certificated employees along the way. There are other numbers involved, but these were the highlighted numbers to show that the community and the staff itself did participate in the particular survey. Some of the highlights included were professional experiences that the community said that they wanted to hear. They wanted someone who had experience in the public school sector that was either a site administrator and or a cabinet level member. They wanted someone who had experience in a comparable district as Sequoia. They also wanted some things such as they had a strong finance or budget background so that they can understand the budget resources that the district has in total. They wanted a track record of growing the academic success. Sequoia has been very good at having excellence in education and student achievement. There's still a gap, and so we'll talk a little about that a little later, but they wanted to see that in their next superintendent. In addition, they wanted someone who has not only will grow the academics for the students who are doing well, but also looking at things such as the second language learner students, special ed, students experiencing poverty, to make sure that every student in Sequoia district is receiving a first-class education. And so that's what the community said they wanted to see. In terms of the characteristics for the leadership, professional leadership, they wanted someone who was an instructional leader, who understood instruction and understood how to get the best from the teachers in terms of providing their PD, as well as being able to take that information and that PD and make it actionable for students to learn and achieve. They wanted someone who could bring the full community together. And that's one of the themes you're going to find when we talk about some of the challenges along the way, with the need to do that. They wanted to have a high priority, a person who had high priority on school safety. They want to ensure that when kids come to school, they are safe here in Sequoia. They wanted someone who was a people person, who really reached out to the community and had a chance to build relationships both internally and externally. They wanted someone who had high visibility. This was very strong amongst the teachers as well as the students. They wanted people to be on campus who get a chance to know what's going on in the schools, could have a better sense of how do we make our schools better? How do we support teachers? How do we ensure that students are getting what they need overall? As far as personal characteristics, they wanted someone who's empathetic and a good listener. They wanted someone who's equity-minded, was a consensus builder, a collaborator. So you're getting a sense of what the community says. They want somebody who's going to bring you all together under a common vision that everyone understands and that everyone can move in the same direction towards. When we're looking at other things such as the professional experiences, they want someone who has experience working in a diverse community. They wanted someone who understood the importance of the classroom and how important that is to the education, so that this person will be visible in the classroom to be able to support teachers and to hear from students as to what they need in order to be more successful and engaged in schools. When they talked about the academic growth, they wanted someone who understood not only for challenging students, but gifted students. All students would be able to thrive in this environment. They wanted to know, again, we talked about finances. They wanted someone who would advocate for Sequoia at the state, local, and federal levels, who has that type of experience, and that they had a genuine, I'm going to say this again, a genuine commitment to issues of equity and social justice. Following that, they wanted someone who, again, who's going to work with the whole child, who was going to be the image of the district, someone who people look at and say, this is our superintendent that can be embraced by all communities. They wanted someone with strong human skills, human relation skills, and communication skills, that they could prioritize resources based on the data and research, that they would maintain their regular meetings with the union leaders, that they support staff and values and brought the staff involved in the decision-making process. Some of the personal characteristics, they want somebody who's approachable. So visibility was one, but they want someone who's approachable as well. They wanted someone who had a collaborative leadership style that allows the constituents' voices to be heard in the process. And so that as you go out to the community and the community has ideas, that their voices are actually heard. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to get what they want, but they want to ensure that their voices and their opinions are out there. So that's important. They wanted someone who's innovative and progressive, and that they would work deeply and compassionately to ensure that the staff was cohesive. And then the other aspect of they wanted transparency, and that was huge throughout the document. They talked about the importance of communication and collaboration. I think I've touched on those two topics pretty much, but those are very big commitments they're expecting from the new superintendent. When we look at the strengths of the district, I see a lot of people here wearing your t-shirts, et cetera. You should be proud, because regardless of the groups that we talked to, they said that the staff was a strength of this particular district. They talked about the commitment and dedication of administrators, support staff, and teachers. They appreciated the multicultural and the richness of the diversity in this particular district. They wanted to be sure that it is valued and that it continues to be valued by the new superintendent. They wanted a commitment also to social justice, reaching equity goals, and the equitable distribution of assets that are essential in inherent qualities of that new leader. There was a focus on students, which is always a pleasure for us because we don't always get this, but they talked about the importance of being able to focus on students and provide students with the opportunity to grow and to have a voice as well. And you hear how articulate your student board members are, and they want to make sure, and you saw based on the celebration of some of your other students, they want to make sure that continues and that there are other opportunities for other students to be engaged in that process. They want a commitment to believing in the district and that the district is going to be fiscally stable. That was a big one that they decided that the community says they want to see. They want to ensure that, yes, you have resources, yes, you have great community support, but they want to make sure that whoever is in charge understands not only what's happening currently, but can forecast what's going to happen in the future. Some of the district challenges. Challenges included persistent opportunity and achievement gaps and following through with equity goals. That came out as one of the top areas. So they're going to challenge the superintendent to make sure that they handle that. The next one, building trust and transparency. And there was no shortage of comments regarding the importance of the new superintendent along with the board, building and rebuilding trust and making sure that there's appropriate transparency coming from decisions, and that the communication comes in multifaceted ways, and that it is also multi-directional. A couple of other things. Respondents are proud of being a diverse, highly educated, and well-sourced resource community. They love the energy, they love the intellect, they love the fact that you have a community that's dedicated to the schools, and that they want the board as well as the superintendent to continue that and to look for how do we improve some of the things that we've been doing in the past for all students. And that's pretty much the report.
Okay, thanks so much. So at this time, if there are any members of the public who want to make a comment to the board about this agenda item,
Can I make a comment? Because a community member had reached out to me. I just want to put it on record.
so we'll get to that.
Okay.
So but we'll see if there's any members of the public that are on Zoom. If you wish to make a public comment about this item, please raise your Zoom hand. And do you have comment cards?
Yes, I have
Okay.
one.
So I forgot to mention earlier, when you make a public comment, particularly if you're live, there'll be a countdown timer on the screen. You have 3 minutes to make your comment. So we'll take the public comment person here, and then we'll hear from Trustee Stevenson with the community feedback.
Okay, our first speaker card is from Abby Corman.
Sorry, I was finishing some delicious cake made by an SDCA member. First, I'd like to appreciate the work that Dr. Andrews did. And I'd like to take the opportunity tonight to highlight an issue present in this report and almost all reports we hear at board meetings, where we're hearing stakeholder surveys. Not just in tonight's report, but in our LCAP stakeholder surveys, California Healthy Kids Survey, all panorama surveys, just to name a few. I hope you've noticed how small our survey respondent group is. For this report, we notice only 13 Spanish-speaking families completed this survey. Sometimes in reports, there's a breakdown in zip code and subgroup of who's responded. And then we see not only is it a small number of survey respondents, but those whose voices are shared are not representative of those who are in our district. While survey data is very important, I question the value of it when it only highlights the tiniest percentage and often already most engaged stakeholders. As was shared in public comment today by a former elected official in EPA, and even shared in Dr. Andrews' report, the community does not feel engaged nor knowledgeable of even the major events or concerns facing our district. An email is not enough. A survey is not enough. One parent liaison at each site is not enough. As we begin thinking about next year's contract, I encourage us to think about whose job is meant to engage our community. And how can we make sure it's not a 100th bullet point on their job description? I urge us to push ourselves much harder and be much more critical in our community and parent outreach and engagement in order to become the district we all know that we can be. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share, and I given Dr. Andrews a heads up that I was going to say this, so it wasn't a surprise, but I did get some comment from a couple of community members that the timeline was really short, and it prevented them from getting in touch with, I think they did try to reach out, but also there were some deadlines, and I think the survey closed a little early, so not early like in days, but like a couple of hours. So I wanted to put that out there. So, and wanted to join Abby in talking about the untapped voices. I don't think it's indicative of just this survey, but just making sure we get the voices out, because I think even last time we had some questions around that. But that's not a you issue, that's a us issue. So I want to keep that in mind. And even if we determine how we're going to go about the hiring process after we hire a person, how do we really get to the people who are not at the table? Thank you.
Okay, does any board member have anything they'd like to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to also understand from the data that we received, were the results consistent across the various stakeholder groups, or were there particular outliers we should know about?
They were very consistent, and what we did in the report was highlight the things that showed the most consistency. There was some outliers in terms of the board, in terms of being able to be more cohesive and be more transparent to the community, particularly based upon the most recent situation with the former superintendent and so on. So that did come out.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. So next we're doing the change the agenda, we're going to do item 13.3, presentation of Sequoia District Teachers Association initial bargaining proposal to Sequoia Union High School District for the 2023 to 24 academic year.
Hello, greetings to Board of Trustees, Superintendent, and district staff. My name is Greg Grzinski, and I am the bargaining chair of the Sequoia District Teachers Association. And I've been up here a lot in the past before, but there's a lot of new faces. So I feel I need to say that I used to be the president of SDTA, and I'm here to talk about now in my role as the bargaining chair to present our proposal for bargaining. And our esteemed president, Edith, has stolen, she beat me to the punch talking about International Women's Day, which she's a Spanish teacher and I'm a history teacher, so I was like a little, God, that's my, that indeed. So today on International Women's Day, I can't think of a more appropriate day for us to be presenting our proposal. I don't think, so I don't need to go into any of the history. But I wanted to take a step back and before we present our proposal to talk about the proposal that was negotiated for this school year. And I was on a year-long sabbatical, so I was not present for the bargaining of the current contract that we are in. So I can, for the first time in at least a decade, I can actually thank the members of the bargaining team for their work in the current collective bargaining agreement that we have. And I also wanted to thank the members of the management team, bargaining team, as well as the board for the current collective bargaining agreement that we have, and particularly the move to our new healthcare system, SISC. It involved an immense amount of work at the bargaining table. and was something that the district very much wanted to do. And I do nonetheless wish to point out the difficulties that our members, the educators, the Sequoia District continue to experience, even though the rollout date for the new health system was January 1st, that some of our members are still having problems accessing their healthcare. And both the outside contractor hired to help with this, American Fidelity, and district office staff have, through a myriad of clerical and communication mistakes, caused these problems. SDTA is very pleased with this new health system that we're in, SISC. We are not pleased with the very rocky logistical transition to the new healthcare system. Sequoia District can and must do better with the resources that this district has, right? There is no reason for these kinds of mistakes to be coming up so consistently, right? So I wanted to say that. And the cake that was mentioned was brought here by some members of the SDTA organizing committee. And so I want to invite everybody here, including the board members, to partake in some of the cake. I believe, what are the different flavors of cake that we have here? So, and I think that sharing food together is a way of making connections. And I want to make the point, although I didn't bake any cake, I want to make the point that the collective bargaining agreement is not just a contract, but it's an agreement that is in the interest of both sides, right? And of course, we come to this year of bargaining in that spirit. And so at any time you want to get up and get some cake, that would be fine. But so I want to speak to our current proposal. You should have a copy of our proposal. I'll read some of it out loud so that it is part of the public record, although the electronic document, of course, is available in the district board docs, but can be hard to find. That SDTA looks forward to negotiating the full contract this year. So you'll see that we have proposed in our contract proposal to open almost every article of the contract, with the exception of certain articles that more have to do with management rights and things like that. In addition to some necessary language updates to reflect the current and best practices as our sites and programs have grown and developed, we intend to engage the district in problem-solving conversations to address several different issues. So one of them is attracting and retaining highly qualified and committed educators with special attention to new staff and BIPOC staff. And so part of that is, which is not printed in our proposal, is that we are seeking professional pay to keep up with the high cost of living in and commuting to this area, establishing safeguards for work assignments and to protect against job burnout. For example, the number of courses taught by individual teachers, stable and appropriate workspaces, manageable caseloads, and staffing ratios. Continuing support for equity, diversity and inclusion efforts, and support for maintaining required professional licensing, for example, speech language pathologists, LCSWs, et cetera. Another area that we are seeking to address is creating sustainable workloads and job responsibilities in order to provide the best possible academic, post-secondary planning, social, emotional, and mental health services to students. So some of the details that are not in our proposal, but that we wanted to let you know about this evening include improving workloads and staffing ratios for counselors, psychologists, nurses, speech language pathologists, transition specialists, and special ed case managers. Additionally, we want to continue revisions and update of overlapping counseling job descriptions with the goal of reducing workloads and providing streamlined student services. Another area that in our proposal is supporting members' varied life needs and creating work-life balanced opportunities. And these include some of the details that we would like to share with you this evening: review and update processes and availability of reduced workload, including the Willie Brown opportunities for veteran employees. Review and update processes for part-time employees to access lifetime benefits, and explore improvements to maternity and paternity and other categories of leave. And then lastly, there's another category that we want to talk about in our proposal for the 2023-2024 contract year, is maintaining safe and healthy learning environments. So what I'd like to share with you is some additional details within that category, including exploring options to expand available leave to address COVID and other communicable diseases, to improve contractual safeguards for employee safety, to establish clear guidelines for employee expectations involving campus safety incidents, and increase mental health supports for members in our bargaining unit. So this constitutes the overview of our bargaining proposal. Again, we are looking at bargaining the entire contract. And for this reason, we would be very interested in a timely sunshining of a district proposal so that we may enter into negotiations as soon as possible, because bargaining the entire contract is no small matter. And so that we can make as much progress as we can in this year as we move into the actual contract year for which we will be bargaining. And that concludes my presentation. I don't know if there are any questions or.
Well, thank you for that presentation. Before we take any questions or comments to the board, this would be the time for any public comment from any members of the public who are present or in the Zoom audience. So I guess I'll just ask if anybody in the Zoom audience would like to make a comment, please raise your Zoom hand now. Okay, seeing none, we'll take the public comments from people who are present. How many total do we have?
We have 3.
Okay, so each person will get 3 minutes, and Mr. Grzinski, if you want to stay and take any comments or questions after, or whatever's most comfortable is fine.
Okay, our first speaker is Abby Corman.
Hello again. To echo our bargaining chair, I'd like to name that SDTA is hopeful for a fast bargaining process this year. The speed with which we can agree on our contract highlights for certificated staff the value the district and board place on our educators. In SDTA's initial bargaining proposal, we highlight that we're hopeful to have solution-oriented conversations about, quote, attracting and retaining highly qualified and committed educators with special attention to new and BIPOC staff, end quote. According to the board's 22-23 governance goals, especially number 2 and number 5, I believe this is a focus of our board and district as well. Goal number 5 explicitly reads, quote, the district will design and implement a highly effective recruitment, development, and retention system to attract and retain top talent, create a safe and inclusive climate, build capacity, and increase diversity, end quote. I look forward to hearing what new innovation, collaboration, and work will be committed to. I would like to take the opportunity to name that it is not words, but actions that truly show what we value. While we may be able to say we have had a lot of talk about equity, and we've all had anti-bias training, for example, the quality of these conversations, and then truly what actions come out of them are what matter. While I'm certificated staff and the contract we're talking about tonight is from SDTA, I'd also like to emphasize this work needs to be done for both certificated and classified staff who are on the ground with our students. In 2023 alone, there have been multiple district-wide instances of harmful and inequitable incidents that I fear push my BIPOC colleagues further away from this district and community instead of bringing them closer. Stakeholders are watching this bargaining cycle and looking for concrete, actionable plans for recruiting and retaining staff of color that respond to the needs being shared by staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Beagley-Hagler.
All right, thanks y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna underscore a lot of the points made by our president, our bargaining chair, and my colleague, Ms. Corman, and hopefully this isn't repetitive, but it really underscores the need for SCTA and SUHSD to work collaboratively to grow and work towards shared goals. And as you've heard, right, for this bargaining process to begin as soon as possible. We've mentioned the priority of attracting and retaining the best possible, highly qualified, committed staff with specific attention on BIPOC staff. And as I'm going to speak on, right, creating a culture where BIPOC staff are welcome, supported equitably and valued. I think this means a few different things, right? A diverse staff reflects our students and their home communities. We need staff who look like our students, come from the communities our students live in, and who have bicultural and multicultural literacy. The best staff prepared to serve our students earn professional pay to keep up with the high cost of living in the area. The best staff is familiar and has long-term experience with our students and our school communities. To that end, we need sustainable workloads and safeguards, including protections against job burnout, close consideration for the number of prep periods teachers have, and sustainable caseloads, right? Counselors, psychologists, nurses, speech language pathologists, transition specialists, special ed case managers. If these caseloads are unsustainable, our students are with increasing and evolving needs are underserved. I've also spoken, several times to this board about the commitment to support anti-racist trainings, the equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts advocated for and led by SCTA members. I personally am someone who has benefited significantly from many of these anti-racist trainings, and I am someone who's guilty of having racist thoughts and countless implicit biases. The racial affinity group trainings have helped me reflect on how these ideas and biases show up in my classroom where I work with predominantly BIPOC students. And they've helped me work to interrupt these ideas so that I can work to decrease the inequitable outcomes that they reproduce. Trustees, you also should have received a letter from the Redwood High School's White Anti-Racist Ally Affinity Group. I hope this shows that there's a growing number of your employees who are committed to challenging the inequalities inherent in our educational system and in our district. We need these trainings to continue. We need them to increase in quantity and quality. We need to allocate our work time for these trainings if we expect staff to grow. And if they expect staff to better interrupt our deeply ingrained racist and homophobic ideas. I don't really have time to speak on the next one. So I'm excited for opportunities like this collective bargaining process to find ways SDTA and SUHSD can work collaboratively to establish a working environment where BIPOC and LGBTQ+ members are valued and supported. If we're serious about this commitment, then this must be a priority. Thanks.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Rachel Andres.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rachel Andrews, SDTA member and representative. I work both here in the district office and as a teacher at Menlo Atherton. And my comment is pretty short, so I would just like to say I'm honored to have worked with all of the Menlo Atherton students who are up here tonight, either as students or as members of our Student Leadership Council that brings together students from the leadership classes with leaders of other clubs, getting as many identities representative in that room so they can talk as possible. With regards to bargaining, this round of bargaining is an opportunity to rebuild relationships in our district. I hope that this bargaining process centers care for SDTA members, particularly those with the heaviest workloads, so that we are healthy enough and grounded enough to care for the student. We can only serve our students and families adequately when our working conditions allow us to be well as humans. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to propose a 5-minute cake break. So we're going to take a recess for 5 minutes for anyone who wants to get some cake. Okay, we're returning from our recess, and we're now going to get an update on the progress of the Living the Promise Memorandum of Understanding.
Good evening, members of the board, interim superintendent, Ms. Leach, members of SDTA, especially the person who brought that wicked good, must be from scratch chocolate banana cake. I am delighted because my neighbor loves cake and she gave it up for Lent. So now I can have twice as much. I am super excited to invite to the podium our next speaker. He is someone I've admired since back in the day when we were in grad school together. Go Bears. And he's here tonight no one said go Bears. Come on. Whoop, whoop. All right. Bueller. He's here tonight to talk to you about the Living the Promise MOU, which is a 5-year MOU, and we are in the first year of it. It is a long and worthy endeavor of a document. And so I asked him to please make sure he included a slide showing you what is scheduled to happen what year. We've sat down and done that with our partners at the community college. And he is going to be letting you know about the program in general and about his focus this year, which has been middle college enrollment and dual enrollment. So with no further ado, I welcome to the podium the ever likable kid whisperer, majorly competent Stephen Redmond.
I did not pay her to say that. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and community. Like Bonnie said, my name is Stephen Redmond. I'm the Executive Director for Middle College and College and Career. And I will be presenting an update to the Living the Promise MOU. The Living the Promise MOU is a collaboration between Kenyatta College, San Francisco State University, Cal State East Bay, Ravenswood School District, and Sequoia Union High School District. And as Bonnie said, what you hear is just so you can see kind of everything that's happening in the first year. It is a heavy task, and I'll go over why, but the first year is really kind of setting up the policy and procedures, but really focused on middle college and dual enrollment. The main purpose of the MOU is really focused on increasing the number of students who matriculate from Sequoia Union High School District, focused on going to Kenyatta, San Francisco State, and Cal State East Bay. And the idea of the MOU is really focused on leveraging the resources and strengths of basically all the partners. How can we work together to create a pipeline to help support our students as they transition? Some of the outcomes that focused on, one is the Promise Scholars Program, and that is a program specifically for Sequoia Union High School District seniors that they get priority enrollment at Kenyatta. Another of the outcomes is focused on middle college, which I'll go over later, but also dual enrollment. And the big piece is really working on creating that pipeline. We want our seniors, and this is even if they want to go 4-year, that's fine. But even if they want to go towards a trade, we want to really create this pipeline through Kenyatta that we're sending our students so they can earn a livable wage in Sequoia Union High School District community. Now, the MOU is focused on 3 areas. First area is 8th grade transition. Next is what happens when our students are in high school. And the last piece, what are we doing towards our adults? 8th grade focus, how are we becoming good partners, specifically with Ravenswood? Are we articulating? Are we having those conversations? Are we collaborating with the team? Are we looking at data? And are we giving those students exposure on what it means to be in high school and going on to college? The high school experience, dual enrollment, a huge focus is on dual enrollment. And it's really focused on how can we get college access for our students while they're in high school? And how are we working with our community partners on career pathways? As I stated before, it's not just about K-12 and going to not K-12, but going to college, but what career pathways are out there that our students can transition once they graduate? It's really working with the partners, working with the workforce development, working with looking at the data in our area and what upcoming trades will students be able to access. Now, the adult focus, when we're looking at our parents, are we educating our parents? Are we having those conversations early on? Not just once they get to Sequoia Union High School District, but are we having those early conversations while they're still in middle school? And are we focused on equity? Are we having equity conversations with our staff and leadership? And the last piece is really focused on how are we looking at the data? How are we analyzing it? And how are we making sure that we're making the necessary taking the necessary steps to make sure our students are successful? Now, I'll call middle college my baby, and I say it the last, I would say month and a half, we've really been ramping up our outreach. And one of the things I lead off when I give my presentation is middle college to me is the best kept secret in this district, and I'll explain why. I'll watch a quick video. My name is Stephen Redmond. I'm the Executive Director for Middle College. And our Middle College program is a collaboration between Sequoia Union High School District and Kenyatta. So for our high school courses, it's all Common Core. Sequoia Union High School District adopted curriculum, but they have an open gate of
Different environment.
My name is Stephen Redmond. I'm the executive director for Middle College. Those in the community, if you get a chance, you will like the video if you could hear it in person. I just hate how I sound on it, but otherwise it's pretty good. Okay, what is Middle College? Middle College is a program that's been around since 1999. And it's really the focus of actually not only our Middle College, but Middle College throughout the country is giving students who were not on track to go to college the opportunity to take college courses. So you don't focus just on that group, but you include a wide range of students. But the idea is you're getting students who basically a chance to earn college credit that might not have been looking at college in the first place. Each student is the focus. The focus of all of our students is to graduate first. So we look to fulfill their high school requirements. And then we want to make them A through G eligible. And when I say A through G eligible, so they'll have access to the UCs and the state schools. And then the biggest piece after that is really focused on them gaining as many college credits as they can possible. Most of our students graduate high school with around 45 college units. So one of our sales pitches to families is you're graduating from high school with 45 units. So that's a year and a half of college that you don't have to go to or pay for. So this is a great program that gives access to students college while they're in high school. A typical day for middle college is 12:30 to 3:05. Our students are taking their high school classes. The juniors start off, they have their English, US history, college and career. And the seniors have same English. Their social studies is econ and government, and their college and career readiness. Now, on top of that, our students are taking 2 to 4 college courses. And that would depend on the needs actually their high school graduation needs and really the interests. And one of the big pieces of areas that we can support students is our advisors. We have 4 advisors who really sit down with the students, map out their plan, and really focus on what their not only how they're finishing high school, but what their college transfer is going to look like. So it's really working to focus on their college areas. I have some data to go over. This is our 7-year enrollment trend. If you look over the past 7 years, last 2 years has been a dip, and part of what we're focused on is our recruitment now, because we like to get those numbers at least to 100, over 100 for next year. We've been having a pretty good turnout with our recruitment, but again, we would like this program to double in the next 5 years. That was the idea behind the MOU. So it's really getting out to all of the communities. One of the things that we found out within this program that's, there's a lot of siblings that participate in this program, and which is a good thing, because that means the word is out for the siblings and family members, but we'd like all students to get to know about this program. Our demographic trend, you see most numbers have gone down in the last couple of years, but we're really focused on getting more BIPOC students in this program, again, so all students have access. This is our gender trend. And this is our persistent trend. So what that means is what students started with us in 11th grade and continued on to 12th grade. And if you see in the 2 middle years, 18, 19, and 19, 20, there was a dip. And basically what happened those years, we actually had students that ended up graduating during their 11th grade year. And actually we also, I think the second year that I just stated, we had students who actually took the CHSP, so they finished early. So these are why these numbers went down in those two years. And this shows our feeder trend on which high schools. These are all the Sequoia Union High School District high schools. And if you look early on, the main high schools were Woodside and Carlmont, but as you see later, those numbers are starting to even up. So we're starting to get more well-rounded students to some of the other high schools. Currently, we have 83 students. 41 seniors and 42 juniors. And like I stated before, we have a large number of siblings that continue on our program. Lastly, I would like to go over some of our students so you can get an idea who they are. This is Gianna. Gianna, basically, when I asked her question why she came, it was really I wanted different classes. I wanted classes that my home high school didn't offer. She's currently been accepted to CSU Fullerton and San Marcos. Alex wanted new social opportunities. So she just wanted something different in her home school, but it was really focused around the social aspect. And you can see the universities that she's been accepted to. Tia, the reason why Tia is on this list, like I stated before, all of our students are not going to college or don't want to go to college. Tia actually could go to college, but she wants to enlist in the Marines. So students are able to do a wide variety of things. It's not just going to college, but we want to give our students options. Isidro, he was actually at one of our local charter schools. And he's someone that wanted a change of environment, and he's been doing very well at Middle College. He plans to study mechanical engineering. And I would do a disservice to our program without recognizing Samantha, our student trustee. She represents us very well. And one of the things that if you might have read it in the video, but one thing I highlight about Samantha is, she's on the swim team at Woodside. She's a member, contributes, still stays connected to her school. And one of the sales pitches that I say when I talk about Sam is you can stay connected to your home high school while you're in Middle College. So Sam, continue to represent us. Thank you. Questions?
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for the reading of the video. It was actually really good. I know I've been posting it because I don't think some communities know about Middle College and the beautiful secret like some of our small schools. And when I went to the orientation, there was a lot of questions around the social aspect. And the students who presented talked about wanting to be treated like adults. And that's why I chuckled when I read that. I was like, that's what they all kept saying. They wanted, a different experience. So it's not that they don't want the social environments, that they want it to look different. So I'm excited about that, but I do know that we need to get the information out, and wanted to appreciate you going out to the Boys and Girls Club where some of our students are, and starting early with recruitment. For our students. I guess my question, I actually said this earlier, so I'm going to repeat it because I'm not for sure if you were in the room, but the questions that I heard during the orientations, because I came to one of the orientations to see how it was, parents just had a lot of questions around IB, AP, and dual enrollment, apologize. And then if students, can go to four-year college, and do they accept it? Is it weighed the same? So there are just some FAQs that I think could come out of this, because I know I was confused about dual enrollment, even for like when my child was part of Computer Academy. So I think those are questions our community has.
Okay, and I missed asking if there was any public comment on this item. So if anyone in the Zoom audience would like to make a public comment on this item, please raise your Zoom hand now. And I'll ask Laura if we have any that are here.
I have no comment cards.
Okay, great. So any other board members have comments? Go ahead, Carrie.
Thanks for the presentation. I did like the video, even without the sound. And I just want to say I've known so many families that have had kids go through the program and have been so well served. So it's just very exciting, the partnership. The question I have, I think years ago, so my information might be old. It wasn't the program that was quite right for a kid that wasn't on track to graduate. It tended to be more for the kid that just didn't fit in, maybe for social reasons or other reasons, didn't like the comprehensive experience. So a lot of very high achieving kids would end up in the program. So now the focus is more broad. So a kid that would be more behind is encouraged. And just talk to us about, so it's higher level classes, right? And are they thriving if they're really behind, if they've missed a lot of school, if they're just haven't had academic success? How does that work?
I think
Oh, okay. So I may have misunderstood that. I thought I saw something not on track to graduate. Did I not?
no, but I mean, you look at it like this, and I think Middle College, you have this environment, you have support systems up there.
Yeah.
So a student that may not have done well at their home high school on their own, now they have the small environment. They have an advisor that's going to sit with them, work with them, kind of teach them how to make that transition into college. So you would see more of a student doing better in Middle College, and they say at their home high school with the support systems we have set up.
Smaller class sizes, more
Definitely.
attention, all that. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, I met a kid, not middle college, another program, who had earned a lot of college credit. So kid is a junior and he's feeling more pressure, like he might have too many credits going off to college, like more pressure to figure out what his major is going to be. And he doesn't know, and everybody's asking him. And so for this kid, he was a little worried about that. Wished he had more time to just do his general ed and take more time to figure out what he wants to do in life. Is there anything I can say to him to make him not feel so pressured?
I don't know how to respond
That's
to
the only
that.
time I've heard that.
What I will say, and our students actually speak about this when we present. The good thing about middle college, even if you know what you want to do, it gives you the opportunity to try different things. I mean, you go through the catalog, you have access to the classes, not only at Kenyatta, but CSM and Skyline. So you're getting, access to all these courses and different things that you wouldn't at your home high school. And I have a story, actually, this isn't, I didn't hear about this from middle college, but you have someone say that wants to be a doctor. They want to be a doctor all their life, but they find out they're scared when they see blood. So, if you're taking a course at middle college and, you would find that out earlier. So you'd be able to change that decision. So I think for that student, I don't know what to say to that student in particular, but I think the good thing about middle college, it gives you that wide variety of opportunities that are out there and you get to figure that out.
Oh, yeah. So I also like to thank you for your presentation. And, I've, like Carrie, I've heard a lot of stories from my friends and other people who really enjoyed and had a great time in middle college. So the question I kind of had for you is not necessarily about middle college per se, but, I feel like there will be a cap on the number of students who, who want to necessarily kind of leave their high school and go to middle college. So I was kind of curious about the dual enrollment side of things, because I think there are a lot of students who maybe are interested in taking community college courses, but don't want to, transition fully to middle college. So I wondered if you could talk more about what the plan is around that and how we can expand the number of students who have the availability to take dual enrollment classes.
I think the focus really around dual enrollment, like, it's funny you say that, like, I have a meeting tomorrow and it's really focused on collaborating between Sequoia Union High School District and the Kenyatta professors. So it's really about finding the right courses, having these teachers work together, and then create this course for students to be able to take. I think the idea is for this to grow. And we have small number of classes now, really CTE focused, but the idea is, we're making more A through G courses. And I think the idea is we're working together with Kenyatta to create those classes so our students have more opportunity. It's really on the beginning phases for me as far as building those relationships, but that's what the focus is moving forward.
Sorry, quick questions about that. So maybe I'm just understanding wrong, but I think currently the way it works, I know I did this in high school, is students from Sequoia can take courses at Kenyatta or any of those 3 community colleges, and they can show up on their transcript as long as you fill out a form or something. But so the dual enrollment is like creating specific classes for students that are easier for them to take.
So those are concurrent enrollment classes, so concurrent, any student, like you said, any student can take a college course and that would be considered a concurrent enrollment class. But dual enrollment is while they're still in high school, participating while they're still at their high school with the Kenyatta professor or any community college professor. So right now the language is being changed where all these things are under dual enrollment umbrella, even middle college. But the idea of concurrent enrollment was separate because it was just student going off of their own, taking any class they want. Dual enrollment, the idea is working together with the college.
Thank you.
Sorry, I thought of another question. So several years ago, we had an independent study teacher at middle college. And I thought that was so good because often our independent study kids really need that banquet of opportunity that you described to be able to try lots of different things. Is that still part of the program?
Out on the Kenyatta campus in a separate building, and Kenyatta ran out of space for us, but we'd love to come back anytime they're willing to take us.
I remember in talking to the teacher that some of the kids, just because they were on the campus, then they they had access and they did that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I had one more quick question too that I remembered. So this might be totally off base, but I do remember, I was kind of curious about, the students who didn't finish middle college, because I remember hearing when I was a student, and granted this is from another student, that the district really didn't want people to leave middle college. So once you came, if it didn't work out for you, necessarily wasn't the right fit, it was kind of hard to go back. So I don't know if that's still the case, or could you speak a little to that? Like, how easy is it to transition out if a student turns out not to be a right fit?
It's easy. It's really just an email or a phone call to their home high school. It I don't know what the process was before, but right now it's basically just, like I said, an email or a phone call. And we usually do it, it's usually done at the semester.
And I met your liaison person. I forgot her name.
Louisa,
Yeah, and she talked about the coordination with the home high school for the current student. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that came with the Promise MOU, right? That expansion of the liaison role. Am I right?
yes, her role is actually is focused on recruitment and increasing numbers, but it is that collaboration. Our students are still connected to their home high school. So her role is really, part of her focus is making sure students are able to access, whether it's, SAT prep, just sort of things that come up that, their home high school is going to be in charge of. She's really works to help coordinate that with them. We still want our students connected to their home. They're still listed under their home high school. So even though we're in middle college, they're in our program, but they are still connected to their home high school.
Okay, just give a heads up. I want to recognize that President Kim Lopez is participating via Zoom. And if you'd like to make a comment, I'll give you a moment to think. I'm going to ask Trustee Koo her comments, and I'll come back to you, Kim Lopez.
Oh, thank you so much. No, excellent job, Stephen. You did such a great job, and we're so privileged, honest, and honored to have Stephen at our campus, along with our student success liaison as well. And it's been just an incredible year. I think we're almost at a year lifting this program, and all the work that's been done with middle college and expanding dual enrollment as we start building out in year 2. And we're also planning for our Equity Leadership Institute to run again in April for 2 days. This is a collaborative training that we do between Cañada and Sequoia Union High School District. So we pick different cohorts, whether it's administrators, managers, and eventually we're going to work with faculty and staff as we start expanding it out. So we're looking forward to running that 2-day event again in April. So this has just provided so many opportunities for us to become closer as 2 districts. And I just want to shout out to our interim superintendent, Crystal, and to Bonnie, of course, who's been there. And then again to Stephen. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Kim, for being here. Amy?
Yeah, so I had 2 questions. One was a follow-on you were talking about persistence decreasing because students were graduating early. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what were the situations where they were graduating early and how that worked?
I can give vague information because I wasn't here when it happened.
Oh, okay.
So it was, when you pull the data, it's really if a student was with us 11th grade, did they transition into 12th grade? And what I was told was that they did not, because they graduated or they gained enough credits during their 11th grade year that they finished early. So they wouldn't have counted to that 12th grade count. And so also those students that took the CHSB, they were done in their 11th grade year. So that's why that number went down.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, and just speed through it, right? Okay, okay. And then my second question is, I understand the priorities are to target more minority groups or underrepresented groups. So I was curious, what are your efforts around that? And then if you look at the way the demographic trend is categorized, I know Asians are grouped into one giant bucket, but do you also disaggregate that and make sure that any groups within the Asian umbrella that are underrepresented are also considered?
I think first part of that question, I think, as far as recruitment, it speaks to going to different communities that aren't represented. So we have, like when you look at in the past, there's a heavy concentration on, say, Woodside and Carlmont. So if we're seeing, a low number of students in, say, East Palo Alto, then it means spending more time there, reaching out to, Boys and Girls Club, different agencies. We were at College Track this week and just different places in certain areas, going to the Boys and Girls Club in Redwood City, because just, there's certain groups of students that aren't taking advantage. So I think as we dig deeper in the data and kind of analyzing even, the Asian population, it's a big pocket, but like you said, you can break it down and look specifically into that. We have not done that yet, but we want to look at all students who are underrepresented.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
To the chair, I do have one comment on this item, one comment card that just arrived.
Okay,
Are you okay?
sure.
Pat Burton.
I wasn't really planning on saying anything, but all the work, thank you for all the work that you're doing. I feel like you all like to hear kind of like student examples, and I happen to be the parent of a student that went to middle college last year as a junior. Obviously, it was a very weird time because she started out freshman year, then COVID happened, and then sophomore year she was at home. As a 22-year vet in this district, she was actually not a person that I would have been like, yes, middle college, because I feel like there's sort of this like nameless piece to it. She learned how to do college classes. And I realized after the experience that was the thing, is that to remind ourselves that you are taking college classes. That can look like a lot of things for a lot of different people, but you are on a college campus with adults taking college classes. So without, completely throwing her under the bus, that first college class in math was very difficult. She stayed for the year and then she came back to MA as a senior. And the reason was, when we talk about the social piece of it, it wasn't like, you think of these middle college students and maybe you're thinking like they're antisocial, but it's not really that. It's just that she missed the football and that kind of, the lunch times, which is not really a thing there. But there were so many other amazing things at Kenyatta. She involved herself in a club with other adult college students. She grew so much. And as an AVID teacher, there were students in AVID, a specific student actually, who became the tech person at MA for a while. He was an AVID and he just wasn't challenged enough. He was ready for more. And I think when we talk about collaboration, there is that kind of like competition, AVID or middle college or academy or. But what we really need to focus on is what is good for the student. And so when it was obvious that AVID wasn't really challenging him, I said, I think that middle college would be appropriate for you. And he went and really loved it, and has gone on already to a career, I think in the CIA, FBI, something like that, in tech. So it was really amazing to see his growth. So I guess I kind of wanted to give you guys a picture of what it looks like maybe to be a middle college student. It could be any student who is ready to take on that challenge of college classes, and also the high school. I mean, we didn't really talk about the high school educators that are up there. They are amazing and inclusive and so supportive, because it's a huge transition to go from high school to a college campus. I'm happy to answer any other questions if you guys just want to email me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you again. The next item is 14.1, an action item, approval of the Sequoia Union High School District Adult School WASC self-study.
Tatiana Roganova has jumped to the microphone because she is so eager to tell you about all the fantastic things that are happening in our adult school program. If you are ever on Middlefield and you think you hear a hum in the earth, especially in the late afternoon and evening, the place to be is at Sequoia Adult School. And I'm looking forward to she and her team telling us about the good work they've been doing.
Thank you very much, Bonnie, for the fabulous introduction. I'm happy to report to you in very short 10 minutes about our 120-page WASC self-study report. So we just will do some highlights of the report. So here is our agenda. We're going to look at the timeline, at the revised mission, at our new updated school-wide learner outcomes, and then I will ask you to engage in a very short and simple activity of unpacking SLOs. I'll touch upon developing WASC self-study report, and then the highlights of our action plan. So here is the timeline. The whole process started with the WASC kickoff meeting with the review of action plan of 2017-2023 and group chairs reports in May of 2022. Then we needed to confirm our revised mission and SLOs with the whole school community. So we had to do 3 PD days because we have teachers working in the morning, we have teachers working Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Thursday. So every PD is repeated 3 times. In November, we had student advisory meeting and got some input from our students. And then we had another PD day because we needed to develop a new action plan. And again, it was repeated 3 times. In February, we had community advisory meeting and got some input from the community. And thank you for those board members who came to our community advisory and participated. Today, I'm reporting to you, the Board of Trustees, about our WASC self-study, and our WASC report is due to the Accreditation Committee on March 13th. The WASC visit is scheduled for April 23rd through April 26th. Here is our new mission statement. Sequoia Adult School mission is to provide an equitable and innovative education that equips diverse adult learners with the knowledge and skills to achieve their personal goals and to transition to college and careers. SLOs are very connected to the mission. We have 4 SLOs and they are numbered. So please pay attention to the numbers if you want to participate in the activity. Number 1, students will acquire the skills and knowledge to transition to higher levels of education and into the workforce. SLO number 2, and SLO, by the way, is a school-wide learner outcomes. Sorry if I haven't mentioned it before. Student number 2, students will learn how to access and navigate resources to foster active participation in their communities. School-wide learner outcome number 3, students will acquire the technological skills to be able to navigate a rapidly evolving digital society. And here is number 4. As self-directed learners, students will develop and assess their own personal goals and will learn independently and collaboratively in a diverse environment. So right now, I invite you to participate in an activity, unpacking of SLOs. So Todd Livingston, our assistant director, and Melanie Riano, our instructional aide, will please raise your hand if you want to participate. It is volunteer. Each participant will receive a set of cards with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and a list of SLOs. After you hear a statement, please raise the card corresponding to SLO 1, 2, 3, or 4. Online participants can put the numbers in the chat box. Is everybody ready? Statement number 1. Armando Diaz made an appointment with the school counselor to get guidance on college admission process. One, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to warn you that the slows are interconnected and some of them could respond. Each statement might respond to a couple of slows. Statement number 2, Abad Salam did some research on starting a small business in the United States. Thank you. There is a difference of opinion here for sure. But as I said, they're interconnected, so it can be related to, well, number 3 even. Okay, interesting. Well, I would say number 4, but it could relate to number 2. So they're, as I say, they're all interconnected. Statement number 3, Aisha Fatah completed a unit in Ingenuity and passed a US history test in high school diploma class. Yeah, I see the majority have number 1, but some people Shanice, she has 2. That's a wise decision. You can go wrong with 2 and with even with 3. Moving on to statement 4, Roberto Gomez created a family budget in Excel spreadsheet and illustrated it with a pie chart in the computer skills class. Thank you, Luke. Oh, there is really a consent here. Consensus. Number 3, we have a consensus. Statement number 5, Isabel Herrera developed a Google map of community resources in her ESL class. Edith has 3 slows at the same time. She can go wrong. She can go wrong. Really. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And statement number 6, Carlos Moreno and Amy Ping worked together on a poster for a multicultural day at the Sequoia Adult School. Yeah, the majority has number 4. I would agree with number 4, but also it is community, has some connection to the community. Well, you can't go wrong here. Really, they're really interconnected and they're supposed to be like that. Well, thank you so much for engaging in this community, in this activity. I hope it helped you to understand our slows a little more. Just touching upon self-study report, it was a true labor of love on the part of the whole school community. We had teachers, students, support staff, former and current administrators contributing to the report. It helped us to assess who we really are and what is our why. Self-study report, also the most important criteria in the self-study report, curriculum, instruction, assessment, and student support services were drafted, discussed, and edited many times by the WASP groups. The areas of growth identified in each of these criteria were used as a foundation for the new action plan. And these are our goals. We have 3 goals in the new action plan. Goal number 1, pathways, increase the student transition to college and career approximately 5% each year.
So as to illustrate this goal, we have two career pathways listed on this presentation. One for our ESL students who can enroll in the integrated technology class with ESL support, get a Cañada College credit because it is articulated with Cañada College, and then move on to Cañada College programs, computer science, cloud computing, or administrative support. For students in high school equivalency class, their pathway could be passing the HSC exam, graduating from Sequoia Adult School with the certificate, move on to job train, enroll in carpentry pre-apprenticeship programs. These are just examples. We are developing many more pathways, and this action plan is for 6 years. Goal number 2, recruitment. We will form, the goal is to improve the process of recruitment and outreach using equity best practices to increase student enrollment approximately 3% each year. We will form an outreach committee that will diversify marketing methods and create marketing materials. Flyers and brochures will be delivered to the community. Organizations such as places of worship, post offices, and libraries. We will also continue to strengthen our collaboration with Cañada College, local businesses, Upward Scholars, Job Train, NovaWorks, and advocate for for enrollment in our classes at community events. Goal number 3, student gains. Increase student learning gains by 5% and outcomes across and through the curriculum, ensuring equitable gains across all demographics. We will establish the baseline and track learning gains thereafter. We'll update ESL literacy curriculum and procure new instructional materials. The teachers will be trained to analyze CASAS reports and test results in depth, and will inform students of test results so that the students can assess their own learning. Teachers will also increase their collaboration by observing each other classes and improving instruction. So this is our report in a nutshell. I would like to invite trustees to 2 events. One is on April 24th at 4 p.m. at Sequoia Adult School. It will be WASC Visiting Committee reception. And on April 25th at 2 p.m., the WASC Visiting Committee will meet with the community. So please, if you have time, stop by and communicate your opinions about our school to the WASC committee. And since everybody mentioned International Women's Day today, I will take advantage of this and I will continue this trend by saying that although this holiday was originated in the United States, it really received its full status in Russia, and it is a national holiday there. So I will advocate for turning March 8th, the International Women's Day, in the national holiday here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. If you don't mind staying in case there's any questions from board members, but first I'll ask if there's any attendees in the live audience or on Zoom. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your Zoom hand now or turn in your comment card now. Are there any here?
I've received no comment cards.
Okay, and see no attendees with their hands up. I'll turn to my colleagues and see if anybody has any comments or questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Tatiana, can you introduce who is here with you tonight? Who was your Vanna White and handing out the cards? I believe he is a new hire, or they both are.
I briefly introduced them, then they were passing the cards. So this is Todd Livingston, our new assistant director, who's been very, very helpful to me on many occasions and today also. And Melanie Riano is our instructional aide, and they're helping me today.
Thank you and welcome.
I just want to say thank you. You know, it's what, almost 8:30 at night. Boy, you livened it up. And so just want to say thank you. It definitely, you're working with adult learners and the multi-sensory way that we have to engage adult learners. It definitely shows your skill set and passion. I can see why we hired you. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to also thank you for that, because it was very engaging, and looking at the self-study, there was a lot of positive feedback from students on the quality of the instruction and how engaged it was, and a lot of professional development and best practice sharing and trying new things in the classroom to engage adult learners. And I thought that was really impressive. So really look forward to passing the WASC site visits and you know, I think it's a great job. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank Ms. Koo for reading our report and making some comments and some suggestions that were very, very important for us. So we made some corrections there in the report. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'll say as one of the attendees at the community session you had, I thought it was great the way you had a very good showing of community people there to participate in your WASC study. So thank you for this presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we need to formally act on this item. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the Sequoia Union High School District Adult School WASC self-study.
So moved.
A second?
Thank you. Everyone in favor? Aye. Unanimously approved. Okay, and our last action item tonight is consideration of selection of CSBA Assembly delegates on ballot for San Mateo County Subregion 5B.
Yes, good evening. About this time every year, maybe on certain years, even years, what's it, odd years? What years? Every 2 years. Thank you, Carrie. The CSBA Assembly delegates are voted. There are 3 openings and we have 3 candidates. And so it is before the board to vote to support these 3 candidates in these 3 positions.
Any board member have any comment? Does any board member want to make a motion to approve?
No, I'll make a motion to approve. I actually am familiar with all 3 of the candidates for delegate assembly, and they're great people. They all really care about equity and making sure that our school boards are getting the training and support they need to be effective. And so I'm happy to move that we vote on these candidates. Do we vote one at a time? Is that how it works, or is it a slate? All 3? 3 for 3? Okay. So I move that we vote for this slate of candidates.
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval?
Aye.
Okay, unanimously approved. Last item is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you.